Welcome back to the Lost Tactician, where forgotten knowledge meets modern survival. Today we're stepping into the workshops of medieval Baltic shipwrights, where timber wasn't just cut and shaped, it was transformed into something nearly indestructible. We're boiling pine sap the old way, recreating a waterproofing method so effective that ships sealed with this technique survived decades in the merciless North Sea. This isn't nostalgia. This is about recovering a lost technology that puts modern marine sealants to shame. Stand on any northern European dock in the 13th century and you'd witness an ongoing battle between human ingenuity and the relentless sea. Timber, the lifeblood of maritime civilization, faced an enemy more patient than any storm-water-driven decay. Ships leaked, planks rotted from within. Entire fleets could be rendered worthless in a single harsh winter, not from battle damage, but from the microscopic invasion of moisture that turned solid oak into spongy, crumbling ruin. Modern pressure-treated lumber and synthetic sealants promise protection, yet decks still rot, boats still leak, and outdoor structures still fail after mere years of exposure. The medieval shipwrights of the Baltic coast solved this problem so completely that their vessels remained seaworthy for generations. This secret wasn't written in manuscripts or guild ledgers, it was practiced in smoky, boiling pits, and passed down through apprenticeships that demanded patience, precision, and an almost alchemical understanding of pine resin. The process begins in the forest, among the towering Baltic pines, where resin accumulates like crystallized amber. These aren't casual collecting trips. Shipwrights sought out wounded trees or dead branches, where sap had concentrated and hardened over years, creating deposits of exceptional purity. The resin appears as translucent golden nodules, sticky to the touch, embedded with fragments of bark and the bodies of trapped insects. Gathering enough for a single ship's hull required weeks of labor, carefully prying these precious chunks from wood grain without contaminating the resin with too much debris. What makes Baltic pine sap superior to other tree resins lies in its chemical composition. A higher concentration of abietic acid and other deterpenoid compounds that, when properly processed, create bonds with wood cellulose that modern polymers struggle to replicate. This wasn't just any pine tar. This was a material that had evolved over millennia in one of Europe's harshest climates, producing resin specifically adapted to resist cold, salt, and relentless moisture. The boiling setup is deceptively simple. An iron cauldron suspended over controlled flame, filled with chunks of raw pine resin and just enough water to prevent scorching. As heat rises, the workshop fills with the sharp medicinal scent of vaporizing terpenes. The sap liquefies first, a golden syrup swirling with impurities that float to the surface. Bark fragments, dead insects, dirt from the forest floor. These are carefully skimmed away as the mixture reaches a rolling boil. Temperature matters critically here. Too hot and the resin's protective compounds break down into useless carbon. Too cool and the water won't fully evaporate, leaving moisture trapped within the final product. Medieval craftsmen judged this by eye and nose, watching for the moment when the bubbles changed character, when the liquid darkened from honey gold to deep amber, when the scent shifted from fresh pine to something richer, almost medicinal. Hours pass. The water boils away. What remains is concentrated tar, viscous and dark, ready for the final transformation. Some shipwrights added wood ash at this stage, introducing alkaline compounds that help the tar penetrate deeper into wood grain. Others mixed in small amounts of animal fat, creating a pitch that remained slightly flexible even when cold, crucial for ships that flexed and twisted with every wave. Application demands speed and confidence. The pitch is heated until liquid but not smoking, then brushed or poured directly onto prepared timber while still hot enough to flow. Watch closely and you'll see it behave unlike any modern sealant. Rather than sitting on the surface, it visibly sinks into the wood grain, drawn down by capillary action and the wood's natural porosity. The pitch fills microscopic gaps between cellulose fibers, displaces any remaining moisture, and creates a chemical bond that essentially fossilizes the outer layers of timber. Medieval shipwrights didn't just coat their vessels, they impregnated them. Seams between planks were first packed with oakum, twisted hemp fibers themselves soaked in tar, then sealed over with hot pitch that fused the oakum to the wood. The result was a joint more waterproof than the timber itself, flexible enough to move with the hull's natural expansion, yet rigid enough to reject any water pressure. When you submerge pitch-treated timber in salt water and leave it for months, something remarkable happens, or rather, doesn't happen. The wood doesn't swell, it doesn't soften, and, well, it doesn't develop the telltale green-black staining of mildew. Archaeological evidence from Viking shipwrecks proves the durability of this method. Vessels sealed with pine pitch and buried in anaerobic mud for over 1,000 years emerged with their tar-sealed seams still intact, still waterproof, still performing the function for which they were created before the Norman conquest. This forgotten technique offers modern applications that extend far beyond historical reenactment. In an era of planned obsolescence and failing synthetic materials, returning to this medieval method represents both sustainability and, honestly, superior performance. Outdoor structures, boat restoration, and timber exposed to extreme conditions could all benefit from a waterproofing technology that outlasts everything developed in the last century. The Baltic shipwrights weren't primitive craftsmen making do with limited materials. They were solving engineering problems with solutions we've forgotten how to replicate. If you found this deep dive into lost maritime technology valuable, help us preserve this knowledge by hitting that like button and subscribing to the Lost Tactician. Share this with anyone who appreciates the intersection of history, survival, and craftsmanship. The past has lessons worth learning, and we're just getting started.